You guys, I got to interview a dream guest of mine. I cannot wait for you to hear the conversation that I had with David Bedrick. David Bedrick is an author and absolute genius in the work of shame. He recently released a book called The Unshaming Way, and you have to get it. Yeah, I'm sorry, you have to get it. In this powerful conversation, we talk about how shame can subconsciously and subtly block our ability to be present in our relationships. How shame hinders intimacy and connection. This applies to romantic relationships. This applies to your family. This applies to your work with clients. This is one of my favorite conversations, and I know that it is going to deeply touch your life. Without further ado, here is the interview with David Bedrick. So, I would love to just like pick your brain, talk about your book, and I also have some questions that my students have asked me to pass along to you.
Let's do everything.
So I'm so excited. The people that we work with at Healing Embodied, my team and I, we primarily, so one of the things that we do with people is support them in cultivating healthier relationships. I know that's something that you talk about a lot. And over and over and over again over the years, no matter what dynamic or pattern we're working with, like shame is there.
Yeah,
Shame always arises, and oftentimes the people we work with, it's a very sneaky, insidious manifestation that looks
that's
like
right.
perfectionism, like wanting a perfect relationship and, is my partner good enough? And really it's if I don't have the perfect partner and relationship, then that means I've made a mistake and therefore I'm a failure. And if I'm a failure who's made a horrible mistake, hello, shame.
You got it. You got it.
So
hmm
tell me about, or, share with me what you have noticed when it comes to how shame impacts our ability to feel like safe and connected in our romantic relationships as one type of relationship.
Wow. That's an amazing question. It's a deep question. I love the way you're talking about shame because a lot of people approach shame as this simple, I feel bad about myself thing. And you're outside of that confinement, which is really important. You're talking about it as an insidious, mostly somewhat slash unconscious uh, dynamic like that feeds into perfectionism. How does it affect safety? That's an incredible question. That's a deep question. I'm thinking of two things. In the more obvious, in the more direct way, if I have shame around my own impulses to protect myself, which is not uncommon, then I will be unsafe. For instance, if I have confusion around getting hurt, let's say you say something really hurtful to me, and I, instead of thinking, Chelsea, that was kind of hurtful, or ouch, that hurt, or that's not okay with me, that would be a reasonable response to if you were hurtful to me. But if I had shame around it, I would think, what did I do wrong? Am I hurt? Maybe I'm not hurt. I shouldn't get hurt. She didn't mean anything. So now I have a whole inner conversation wrapped around my hurt. There's hurt, and then wrapped around it is all kinds of self-doubt and questions and confusions and what should I do and why do I get hurt all the time? And if that happens, my hurt becomes invisible to me. What's visible to me is what a screwed up person I am, what I should do about it, what therapy I need to get to deal with my hurt. What's invisible to me is the hurtfulness. In that case, I'll be in a relationship where hurt will happen and I'll never address the hurtfulness. That's dangerous to not know you're getting hurt. People not know they're getting hurt. Yeah, I've had people who had bruises on their bodies. And I'll say, show me the bruise. They're like, no, it's really nothing. I'm like, show me. And then they'll show me like fingerprints. That's a little bit triggering, I understand. They'll show me fingerprints on their arm. I'm like, that's big. And they're like, yeah, yeah, anyway. I'm like, wait a second, wait a second. I want to look at those fingerprints, the red marks and the blue marks around those fingers. They're like, well, why? I'm like, let's look. I'm not trying to convince you or anything. I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. Let's look. Because otherwise, that person's thinking something weird. Maybe I did too much. Maybe I said the wrong thing to my partner. And that's how shame enters. So around violence and abuse, phew, the safety issue is big if you can't acknowledge the fact that you've been hurt. Why can't you acknowledge it? Hurt has happened earlier and someone didn't treat you like that. That's what happened.
Yeah, that's it's so so common. And one of the other kind of opposite pole reactions that I see in relationships that we work with is people who are now in safe, loving relationships who still like are anticipating something going wrong, or
Yeah.
are wondering if one day they're going to somehow discover that they've made a mistake. And yeah, so
Big.
tell me about that like opposite reaction.
Yeah. I mean, if if a person is thinking I'm waiting for the shoe to drop, I'm
Yep.
waiting for something go wrong, that's an inner relationship.
Yeah.
Let's assume that the outer relationship is whatever, cozy enough or connected enough or solid enough or secure enough, then it's an inner relationship. And then have some part of me that's scared something's going to go wrong, something's going to go wrong. And then maybe something says it's not going to go wrong, it's all okay. So that's an inner dialogue between two parts. Somebody that says it's okay, don't be paranoid, don't be worried, and somebody who says I'm scared. So that's an inner relationship. And that person has to get to be comfortable with being frightened and insecure at times even though I maybe there's no outer reason. I have to be like, I'm a little insecure sometimes. These are my wounds. This is the kind of person I am. So that it doesn't just become a mess in the relationship, it becomes a conscious thing. I know that because I have a lot of insecurity that lives in me. So I can be insecure when there's no obvious outer reason for that. But I haven't been able to heal myself such that I am totally secure all the time. It just hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll never be that way. I don't know. I'm 69 and it hasn't gone away yet. And I've had a really good therapist for over 30 years. But what I can do is I can say, if you got to know me really, Chelsea, I can say, sometimes I'm insecure. Some days I'm more insecure. Some days I'm going to be like, is this okay? Are you? And I'm going to ask you more questions like that. And then you can just say, David, you're in your thing. I'm like, I know I'm a mess. So that doesn't have to be a problem. If I know myself well enough and I can introduce you to that, not blame you and things like that, we can get along with ourselves.
I love
Shame is when a person thinks they shouldn't have any of the experiences or any sense of wounding from their life. They're over all that. And I don't know anybody who's over all those things.
I know, and you're like, sometimes I'm still insecure, and I'm like, yeah, like, isn't that so human of us to
Yeah,
have times where we feel scared or unsure, and this chase for constant certainty, and yeah, I'm never afraid. And what we explain to our clients, who experience more of that dynamic is like this shame sandwich. Like there's that top layer of like, I shouldn't be feeling insecure.
right.
I should feel more like that kind of top layer of shame.
Yeah,
And then we look at the insecurity itself and where it comes from. And of course you're feeling that way. And
yeah,
often underneath that layer, we see, well, I'm afraid that if I do get hurt, it's because I was so stupid and blind, and it's my fault for not
yeah.
seeing it.
That's gross. Yeah.
Right?
If a person's thinking at some point I might screw up and then it'll be my fault, that means that they're already thinking things are their fault.
Yeah.
No one projects into the future something that could happen that's not already happening in some small way. So it's never in the future, it's now. I'm already doing things. And if you said, tell me 6 things you did today that are wrong, that person will be able to tell you at least two. Mhm.
Yes, yes. And how it also probably manifests in so many other areas of life, that self-blame and self-criticism and I can never do it enough and
Yeah,
always messing up. Yeah,
yeah,
that was, very strong dynamic in
yeah.
me for many, 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 many years. And it's suffocating. It's
Yeah, it's suffocating. It's there's the whole issue of trauma and past relationships and childhood traumas and past generational traumas. But then there's also what I call the unshaming, let's say, of self-doubt. Can I be a person who's unsure of himself? What if I'm really, really unsure of myself? What's it like other than I'm paralyzed?
Mm.
Maybe I'm vulnerable. Maybe I have needs. Maybe I say, I'm scared today. I need it. Can you hold my hand a little bit more as we go through the day? You can say, I don't have the time for that. But sometimes underneath insecurities are needs that I'm not allowed to have, vulnerability that's been put away. Because I think a secure person is like, hi, Chelsea, I'm David. I'm fine with myself. I'm an independent person who has no needs. I validate myself. I love myself, so I don't need your love. Like, yeah, but not only. Some days I'm a big mess and I'm needing somebody to tell me beautiful things about myself or hold me or let me shake and be scared. So vulnerability also itself needs to be brought in. For men, the stuff that's called weakness, it's labeled weakness. Weakness means it hurts. Weakness means I can't do anymore. I'm overloaded, as opposed to just getting angry at the burdens. Um, I'm not up to things. For men, vulnerability, insecurity, and vulnerability look like I'm comparing myself a lot to other men in terms of my muscles, my body, my penis, my money making. And it makes me feel shitty about myself, admitting those kinds of things, right? And for
Mm.
women, I'm not meaning to focus on men for some reason, that just came up to me, but women have their own, obviously, inner criticism about body, freaking huge. Let's face
Uh,
it.
that's a whole other like podcast. Is just like the body. There's so many layers of body shame. For me, it's like, yeah, your body appearance, but then body shame things like your emotions. Like your emotions are something that your body does, and then the shame
Yeah.
you feel for just having a body that feels. So not only shame for how your body looks, but for how your body operates. Um,
Huge. Huge. Feelings themselves. Most feelings are shame that people don't think of it that way. But what you do notice about it is the suppression of it. So I'm angry and I kind of go, "Ooh, I'm a little bit upset." Or I'm depressed and I'm like, yeah, I'm a little down. But notice how I'm trying to sit up and not be down, you know? Or I'm anxious, but I'm actually whatever. Or I'm feeling really strong today. Shouldn't act too strong. I shouldn't act meek. So most of us are managing, truncating, reshaping those feelings into some shape that we think have learned this is the proper shape to show. It's a literal shape shifting by shame changing the curves of our feelings. Yeah.
Yeah, and believing that certain emotions are okay and they're allowed, and these are the right things to feel, and then these ones are bad and wrong, and these are the wrong, I should never feel this.
Huge.
And the anxiety that that creates of like, I'm not allowed to feel these things, yet here I am being a human feeling these things. Oh no.
Yeah. Oh no, I like the way you say that. Yeah. Yeah. Then I'm wrapped up in my inner life, not just the inner life of I'm focusing, loving, and supporting myself, my inner life of shame. I shouldn't feel this way, but I do feel this way. And that inner tension, I'm feeling this way, but I shouldn't feel this way, removes me from relationship. Now I'm wrapped up in an inner dialogue. You're going to be relatively invisible to me because I'm wrapped up in my own mess. It's hard to have an intimate moment. You're
Whoa.
thinking, yeah,
Wow, the way you said that just landed in my body so powerfully. Like when I'm wrapped up in my own stuff because I'm trying to manage all these emotions and I have this inner dynamic, you become invisible, someone else becomes invisible to me.
yeah,
I can't see you when I'm constantly fighting myself.
yeah.
Whoa.
It's huge. When a therapist has a really big inner critic, all of us have inner critics, something inside that evaluates and criticizes and things like that. But when that's dominant and not known sufficiently, and if you're my client and my critic is big and not known, then I'm not seeing you. I'm listening to my evaluation of how I'm doing with you. And if that's strong, it's as if somebody's sitting next to you saying, David, you didn't do that right. That's not helpful. Maybe she's not doing it. She doesn't look like she's happy about that. So something is doing that constantly. I have a very hard time paying attention to you and what you're doing and what you're showing me and what you're saying to me and the way your body is expressing things to me because I'm so glued to this other, I'm going to call it a ghost, not literal ghost, meaning an imagined person sitting next to you who's evaluating me. They get almost all my attention, and you get like very little of my attention. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is shame impacts our ability to have enough inner space to be deeply present with someone we're in relationship with, whether that's
You.
client, partner, friend, child.
I was just talking to someone who was doing parenting is her big space that she teaches in, does podcasts in. And we were talking about this dynamic with children, that if a parent feels, she was talking about being a mother, and we were saying if a mother feels like she's a really bad parent, in, maybe she's made mistakes or not. Let's assume she's made some mistakes because she's human, whatever those mistakes are. She's made some mistakes. But if inside something's like, I'm a bad parent, I'm screwing up my kids, I'm no good, I can't believe how bad I am, then the child becomes invisible. Because because if you're the child and I'm thinking I'm a terrible parent, then as soon as I see you, I'm not thinking, hey, it's great to see you. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is awful. This is how bad a person I am. So my relationship with you is not out of the joy of being with you or the difficulty of being with you or the challenge of being with you. It's the bad feeling I have about myself around you.
Wow.
So that's very difficult for a child to get through that veneer of that. It's like, why is this person feeling bad every time they're around me? They're not going to be thinking that, but they will experience that. This is a person who looks really unhappy and bad and miserable every time they see me. That's going to feel really bad.
I I wish you could repeat everything you just said again,
Uh,
because something that we hear a lot from the people we work with who are in relationships where there's a stable enough, I like how you said cozy enough
yeah,
outer dynamic, um,
uh,
and yet those bad, quote unquote, bad feelings or feeling bad about myself get activated
yeah,
in that relationship. And so they go, well, maybe if I was with a different partner,
yeah,
I wouldn't feel this way.
yeah,
Versus what you're saying here is it's that inner stuff and this belief that I'm a bad partner, person, mother, whatever, is getting activated and poked at
yeah.
through this particular relationship.
Yeah. It's really, you're bringing up something really important to me. If a person is regularly questioning their relationship, should I be in this relationship or not? Whether it's to the just inside or to you, I'm like, Chelsea, I'm not sure if this relationship's the right one for me. If that's the dynamic I'm living in, inside or outside, that is not good to sit in for very long. That means a person should either say, I would say to that person, if I were being way too quick, I would take more time, right? I would say, let's figure out whether we should get you out of that relationship. And if that's not the next step, then I say to that person, you have to put that question away and think, how will I bring myself further into this relationship to deepen it? Because if you're sitting at that edge on that spot, you can't deepen the relationship, you can't grow in the relationship, and you're not out.
Yeah.
If you were my client and you were saying that, I would say, if it's right for you to get out, I will help you to get out as fast and as strong and as clear and as safe as I can. But if that's not yet the moment or ever the moment, if that's not what you're going to do next,
Mm.
then you got to put that question aside because it's crippling.
Yes.
Doesn't mean the relationship is good. It says, now, given that your concerns, what will you do with those concerns other than should I be here?
Yeah.
Challenge your partner, challenge yourself, go to therapy together, have a life outside your relationship where you're prospering. What will you do? You have to do one or the other. But sitting on that fence, people do that for years, and it disempowers the relationship to actually grow and do something. It's a difficult spot. Yeah.
And wow, thank you for saying that because it just validates what a painful place that is.
Yeah.
Stay in for years. And, we work with a lot of people who do feel that way for a long time. And I think that that word disempowers is very accurate to what that experience is like. And so
Yeah.
I, I love the clarity you bring to that. It's like, okay, either if the next step you're going to take is to exit that relationship because it is truly unhealthy for you, if
Yeah.
that's not the next step, then put the question aside so that you can take action in the other direction. Whether that's, okay, we have some wonky dynamics that aren't great.
Yeah.
I'm going to set boundaries or we're going to work towards this. Or that's, oh, wow, I've actually realized that's my own inner relationship and inner dynamic that's making me
Yeah.
uh, just doubt my choices. And I remember something that I learned from you in that workshop with Simone Soul was like the biggest indicator of someone who's living with shame is self-doubt.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that a little bit more?
Yeah. When shame enters the system, it says, what's wrong with you? So then what happens is you don't trust your own experiences. I gave the example before. If you say something hurtful to me, I don't trust that hurt. I
Mhm.
think, what did I do? Why am I like this? Am I so sensitive? So that inner questioning space that has the flavor of what's wrong with me? Why am I like this? I shouldn't be this way. That particular feeling leaves people not trusting their experience, not what's true in some ideal way, my experience.
Yeah.
For some reason, I'm on this hurt idea, but so if you do something that I feel hurt, then I don't think you did something hurtful or not. I think it hurts me. So I say, Chelsea, that really hurts. And you can say, I didn't do anything. I say, it doesn't matter to me. I trust that I hurt. I'm not trusting that I'm understanding you. I'm trusting me. This hurts. That felt really good. Well, why would that feel good? Because it feels good. It's like
Yeah.
so when people have very little shame, they trust again what I call their experience, not their theories and ideas. This is what it's like for me. It'd be like taste. If I gave you strawberry ice cream and you didn't like strawberry ice cream, you just don't like it, or it makes you maybe you're allergic to strawberries. You get hives, and you say I don't like strawberry. And I say you should like it. It's like, or strawberries are great. This is the best strawberry ice cream. And then you should check with yourself and kind of go, last time I ate this, I got hives. It made me sick. I'm not going to do it. That's not against me. It's just this is my, or I don't really like it.
Yeah.
You get to not have to have an explanation about it. You get to just say, this is my experience. That's really important for authentic relationship. This is how it is for me. You have to have that and bring that forward at some point.
I
Yeah.
That's so important and like such a clear way to navigate even moments of conflict or disconnection in relationships. You start with your experience, whatever
Yes.
that is, without needing to quote unquote justify. It's like, oh, I'm feeling hurt right now. You
Yeah.
start there and say, I'm feeling hurt. And then you can check in with your partner and said, when you said that, it hurt me. And this is how I interpreted that.
Yeah.
What did you mean by that? Right? Like you can
Yeah.
still
Hmm.
check in with the with your partner while still honoring and acknowledging your experience of being hurt.
That's beautiful. And then the flow of relationship is possible. So if I say, Chelsea, that really hurt, I know that because because I've had pain inside of me. Then we can say, what's it like for you, Chelsea, when David says he gets hurt by you? Now you have to bring your truth in.
Yeah.
I get self-critical, or I think he's accusing me of something, or I feel really bad, or it makes me angry. Whatever happens, then you have your experience, and then we have a back and forth. Then we have to connect with each other.
Yeah.
That's very different from you shouldn't be your way, I shouldn't be my way. Let's me become a truncated piece of David, you become a truncated piece of Chelsea, and now we're trying to relate, and then we've split off big parts of ourselves in order to get along. Everybody does that, especially at the beginning of a relationship. Nations do that. People do that. We first meet each other. We all act a little bit nicer than we are. That's human. It's good. Otherwise, probably nobody would ever get along with each other, right? Because once you get to know me, you're going to find out I can be beautiful. I can be an asshole. I can be sarcastic and cutting in the wrong way. I can guilt trip you. My partner, would tell you all those things about me. So you'll get to know me. But then over time, hopefully, what happens is that we allow that flow. Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's what I love about, being in a long, I've been with my husband for 10 years, but that's what I love about being in long-term relationship and working with people in long-term relationship is, in the initial stages, like you said, we're kind of showcasing dun dun
Yeah.
dun dun dun.
Yeah, I want to be a good person and a good provider as a guy and whatever, all that stuff.
Then the more we know someone, the more we are intimate with them, the more we see the shadow sides.
Yeah.
And it's to me like the health and the sustainability and the potential for the relationship to thrive really depends on what do we do when our inevitable, very human, messy, ugly shadow sides finally come out
Yeah.
in a relationship.
Yeah.
And I love what you're saying, this flow of like honoring your experience and then my experience in response to your experience.
Yeah. it's,
And yeah,
this is what happens in relationships. Like David says, I'm going to meet Chelsea. I'm only going to show these parts. I'm going to be really smart and secure and fun loving. And I'm not going to be exhausted like I also feel today. And I'm not going to be annoyed by my finger, which I smashed in a garage door. And I'm not, whatever. So I'm going to take all those parts of me and put them away. Right. So then David shows up as part of him. That's not putting that down. That's human. Every day
functional.
I have to do a job, I'm going to put away something. Right.
Yeah,
And then Chelsea says, well, I'm going to put away my whatever,
yeah.
my
My fangirl.
parts, and I'm going to put away how I look in the morning, so I'll clean myself up and whatever. So then we meet, right? So part of Chelsea meets part of David, and then the part of David that's not here, there's a part of Chelsea that's not here. We try to get rid of, right? You said those are the shadow parts. That's right. They're created by shame. Shame says, don't show that. People aren't going to like that. That's not good for you. How's she going to recommend you to people to buy your book if you act like an asshole, David? Great. So don't act like, okay, good. I need to write my book. Okay, so he does that, right? So now part of me shows up and part of you shows up. What happens with the other part of David and the other part of Chelsea? They're in relationship too. So it's like David and Chelsea have this conversation, parts one and A and B, but then these other two parts, they're kind of watching and they're kind of going, yeah, sure. And they're kind of giving little signals, boredom or little criticism, or I'm looking at my phone rather than listening to you, or I'm getting resentful, or whatever, or I'm flirting with somebody else right while you're watching and it's making you upset, or whatever. All kinds of other things that are happening, or I'm not remembering what you said, or you're really not interested in what I'm, whatever. So these other parts still express. They just don't come out directly. So now there's two conversations. The dominant David that he wants to be, and the dominant Chelsea she wants to be. But then these other two characters, they're talking also. And actually, the development of the relationship is going to require for that other conversation to happen more because those shadow parts have a lot of power. They can screw up the whole relationship. They can make it beautiful and wondrous and passionate. They can screw the whole thing up and blow it up. And if I try to keep them out totally,
Wow.
but that's how we try to deal with conflict in the world also. Let's get rid of the people who can't resolve things on both sides, or the countries that can't, or the groups that can't. But then we have no problem. The problem is we don't only agree, or we don't only jive, or we whatever. Those things need to come. And how do we relate as two people who have our own ways of being that don't only jive? What are we going to do with that? That's a huge question. That's a question that there's very little maybe people will disagree with me here. There's very little developed intelligence about that.
Mm.
Most of the intelligence out there is be more this way, be more this way. This is how it would be good to be a man or a person or a partner. This is how it'd be good to be this and this. Do more of this. Don't do this. This is how it'll work. There's a lot of advice. This is how to get rid of aspects of you. This is how to be more regulated so you're not a problem. All that stuff is good, but the authentic bringing together of ourselves in countries and nations and conflicts also. There's very little. What do we do with
Wow.
these other aspects other than try to make them go away and then have them express themselves in ways that are injurious? Yeah.
Yeah, or trying to get the other person to conform to be more like me and to be similar and it again eradicating the differences or eradicating the different ways of expressing or going about things. And well, if we're going to get along, then we need to be the same versus
Yeah.
like what do we do when we inevitably have difference? What do we do
Yeah.
when we inevitably have conflict because we're two different people or two different cultures, whatever?
Yeah.
How do we navigate that?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like you said, we're just going to be suppressing all this stuff and it comes out in these ways that eventually are very
Yeah.
destructive and hurtful.
I've been with my sweetheart, married for Lisa for 20 years, and I can't tell you the number of times she has said, David, your sarcastic sense of humor can be insensitive for me and hurts my feelings. Like many times.
Mhm.
And then she tells me she's genuine. She really shows me that and I get it. When she says it, I'm like, I can see why.
Yeah.
She's not like making something up. It's not like that's not what's happening. that's not what I mean, or it is. But either case, sometimes she says, "Can you tell me why you're making that joke the third time?" And I kind of like, "Ooh, I didn't know I actually wanted to say something to her." Sometimes I'm unaware of that, and sometimes it's just an ethnic difference
Mhm.
between us, right? So she's told me that many times, and then I try to be more sensitive, and I can, and I am for a little bit, and then after a while, I start doing my jabby sense of humor and teasing and making stuff. And then she goes back to
Mhm.
having to say that hurt. And one day I said to her, I'm going to acknowledge I have failed at doing better at that. I don't think I can promise you, other than a little bit, I'll get better after you tell me that I can really get better at that. I think part of my style, in fact, a part of me doesn't even want to. A part of me feels like this is kind of my style. And we have a kind of a cultural difference around some of that. Sometimes I'm a jerk and she says you should look at what you're doing, and that's different.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm like, I'm going to acknowledge that I don't think that that's going to stop. And she's like, well, I'm going to tell you when it hurts. And I was like, this is this in a strange way. That's the resolution. And what we've gotten much better at, not me making sure I don't do that, and not her saying, "Oh, it's okay, I don't mind." We got much better at me kind of going, "I'm me," and I kind of go, "Oop," and she goes, "Hey, that hurts," and I kind of go, "Ah, shit, it feels really bad." So when the conversation flows,
Yes.
I'm not like, "Oh, I'm a bad person." She's not like, "Oh, why am I sensitive? I shouldn't care about this anymore. He's told me a million times." That's gone, and what we have is the flow of our relationship. I just did something that she didn't like. She tells me I'm always open to what she says because she's always right. I can see why she's hurt. I'm not saying she's right about my intention, but I can see for her sensitive body that style doesn't feel so good.
Mm.
But we have a relationship. And that conversation happens very easily. She kind of goes, that hurt. And I'm like, oh, shit, I hurt you again. And I say, I feel like shit. She goes, thank you. "Yeah." And then she goes, rah, don't do it again. And I'm like, I know, I know. And we have a little rah, rah, rah. And then a few minutes later, literally a few minutes, let's get up. We're on to the next thing. It
Yes.
did its thing. And that is the intimacy, not making it go away and be better. You just making me think about that. The resolution that I didn't realize was a resolution, which is we can talk our way through that without skipping a beat. Yeah.
I am in love with this.
Yeah.
Because it's
Great way of saying it.
little, like, sometimes it's these little, like, you could say personality traits or things that are kind of inherent to the person that are going to kind of continually bump up against each other.
Yeah.
One person's not going to be able to change their sensitivity or their crassness. And
Yeah.
so finding this like third option, which is I'm going to let you know when I'm hurt, and for you to witness that hurt and see that hurt and acknowledge that hurt and go, oh, I can see that. I'm sorry. There's still like this, I see you, you see me.
Yes.
And sometimes, like you said, that is resolution enough without there needing to be some major change, outward
Yeah.
change.
The resolution is not who should do what. The resolution is the intimacy of the relationship that has that as one of its pieces and joys and pieces and excellence and support for each other, that has that as one of the spaces. It's not the dominant space. It's
Right.
one room of the house of our relationship that we wander into. We know we go in there. It's okay. You know,
Oh, yeah.
so it's allowed to happen. So the resolution becomes the intimacy and the flow of intimacy as opposed to
Mm.
who should you be, who should I be. Some things we should stop doing and learn about. This is my projection, and I do that, and all those kinds of things. We get better at that. But certain things want a resolution of who we are. I'm calling that the intimacy between us, not the resolution of who I should be and who you should be.
Wow.
Psychology hasn't been really good with that because it's allopathic. That means you've got a problem, right? Allopathic means if you got a virus, we should kill the virus.
Mhm.
That's good. I'm glad your body knows how to do that, right? If you got an infection in your finger, we should, whatever, get rid of that infection, take an antibiotic, or do something so that it goes away. If you have a headache, let's make the headache go away so you're free of headaches. But that paradigm doesn't work for relationship intimacy. What I mean by that is if we have a difficulty between us and I just want to make it go away, that's a headache of our relationship. Let's make it go away. We never let the relationship do its thing and find its way. If the relationship has an infection, we shouldn't make it go away. We should say, oh, we're infected now. We're inflamed. What happens when you're inflamed? I hurt. I get irritated. I get angry. whatever. I want more boundaries. I want more space. Rather than pathologizing, that's an illness to get rid of. We need to learn to unfold and flow with those. And then the caveat always has to be said. I'm not thinking people should allow being abused and traumatized and violated be an interesting flow. That should be
Right.
stopped, right? No limit, etc. So we're not suggesting, because some people will have experiences that they shouldn't say, let's flow with that. They should say, my flow is a brick wall, it's immovable, and if you hit me again, if you speak to me that way, you'll meet my wall. That's who you're gonna, that's the flow. The flow is a wall. The wall says, I'm not movable about this at all. So that's also fine to happen. I'm not suggesting get along with those kinds of things. People need more awareness about when they're being violated and things like that. So anyway, I just want to add that caveat so people don't
Yes.
bring in that, you know, I have a terrible relationship. You tell me this is okay.
Nope.
No, no. And if something's in you says it's not okay, then going with the flow means to let your this is not okay come forward
Yeah.
away. And if you're not okay is I don't want anything to do with you ever again, and that's what's really in you, then I think that's what should come out. Then you
Yeah.
should say that, and we should help you get there as quickly as you can, whether that's going to take 1 minute or it's going to take years because of the dynamics can't be unraveled so quickly.
Yeah, that's going back to, what you said in the beginning about the bruise. It's like letting yourself see the hurt
Yeah.
and loving yourself enough to advocate for yourself when your basic fundamental needs and yeah, your need to be respected and safe when those are not being.
Yeah. It's a huge thing. Talking about these things is huge. Even just I'm appreciating you a lot. I don't know what it is that I feel in you, but maybe it's a fluidness or an openness and a certain joy and passion in your expression. I just want to say you're creating a really good atmosphere, not just in the questions, but somehow in the way you are creates a really good atmosphere for dialogue. I just wanted to thank you about that. I'm not just trying to be nice to you. I'm really feeling that. I'm like, this is a really fine, fine human being. Fine, I mean, fine like wine, not fine meaning you're okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh, Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm letting myself receive that. That means a lot, especially coming.
Mm,
So I appreciate you
yeah,
outwardly sharing that.
yeah. Mm.
And I mean, it was interesting when you kind of used us as the example of like the parts of ourselves that we're not bringing here.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was saying to all my students before this, I'm gonna try really hard to not be weird. And they're
What's
like,
weird?
please let yourself be weird. But the level of excitement
Oh,
that I have for this conversation and the like kind of, I guess you could say fangirl, but like just absolute respect and
mm, mm,
love for your work and what you do. And so
yeah.
I'm receiving your beautiful words to me.
Thank you. Thank you. The fact that I can receive that also. The fact that it resonates with you the way it does, that leads you to be so, I love this. Says to me, you see something in me that's really part of my gift. That's what's present in what I do, not just my ideas and skill. But it also says to me that you also have something, a big dose of something similar, similar spirit, a similar ancestor. I don't know what it is, a similar viewpoint or orientation towards relationship. Otherwise, you wouldn't see it in me. So it must also be a kind of a gift in you. I'm not just trying to be nice about that again. It's like when people see things in me, I always think that's part me, but they must also have that quality, something of that kind of what is it in you? What is the part that's like that is lives in you that resonates? Who is she?
This is not a rhetorical question.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's a real question. What part of you is like, I have something that I see in this man that also moves me?
All right. I'm not gonna say I'm not good. I'm gonna not try to cry because we're having a whole unshaming
Oh,
conversation.
okay, okay, yeah, okay.
Um,
Mhm.
I there's something about the way you speak about things that many people have already talked about before. And the way you speak about them, it's not theoretical, it's something, it's who you are.
Hmm.
It's so true. And again, I'm making this assumption, but I'm
Yeah.
not.
Go ahead. Yeah. Mhm.
It's so true and embodied and cellular,
Mhm.
and it's that embodiment of it that allows you to speak about it in a way that many other people are not able to, because the depth of embodiment that you have of
Yeah,
like your relationship with all of this stuff.
I see. It's the you're hearing the the embodiment of the I'll call it the intelligence, the
Yeah.
ideas and things like that. Yeah. So you're seeing that in me. It's really true. I work really hard at that, but it's also me to do it that way. But that must mean also that the embodiment of the intelligence that you share, I'm calling intelligence in the biggest way, emotional, etc. Embodiment of the gift of the natural intelligence must be a big highlight for you in yourself. That must be a part of how you do yourself,
Yeah,
right?
it's really
Hmm.
really important to me. And yeah, to and I guess I feel like my work, what I do in the world and the relationships I make with people and clients simply just feels like an expression of who I am.
Yeah, that's isn't that gorgeous.
It's the coolest thing.
That's the coolest thing.
Coolest thing.
It's I teach facilitators and coaches and therapists year-long trainings to how to do what I call unshaming work. But I always tell them towards the end of the our year together, it's 10 months actually, towards the end of our 10 months when it's a lot about watching students use the skills and giving them feedback. I always remind my students I don't know what the percentage is, but a huge percent of what you give to people has to do with, I call it your natural medicine, meaning something in me, whether it's a sharp intelligence, whether that's an open arm, whether that's a bosom, whether that's a clarity that cuts right through stuff, whether that's my, whatever that is, that you being you closer to your own, the medicine that you carry in your own nature does most not more than 50%, does most of the work. Then adding skills and awareness to that is really a big deal, like knowing what you're looking at and having skills to implement. But the biggest chunk is I'm close to the way some divine goddess gave me to be. And that makes a space, not for everyone. Some people don't like that, but that's good. We get rid of them. They should find another person with a different gift. But then the people who are attracted to you will find you. That's a really big thing. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. And it's really similar to what I say to our like practitioner students.
Yeah.
The majority of your efficacy is not about what you do, like the specific modality or skill or intervention, but it's who you are and who you be and the depth of presence that you
Yeah.
bring. Because you
Yeah.
can add so many different skills, but the skills aren't going to make up for that. You being in flow, you
Yeah.
be your unique magic
Yeah.
medicine.
It takes me back to shame because when shame enters early, which is mostly when it enters, or in past generations it enters even before our life, that mean what I mean by shame is something that says these are the parts of me that are no good
Yep.
that I should get rid of and not be. Boom. One of my teachers, Robert Bly, said, those then parts of us get put in the shadow bag. Let's get rid of David's anger, which really is his power and passion. Throw it in the shadow bag. Let's get rid of his vulnerability. He shouldn't be too tender as a man. Let's boom, whatever. And let's do that. Let's etc. Let's get rid of his idealism. So we throw that in the shadow bag. And then pretty soon you're carrying this huge bag and you have a truncated person. So, but one of the main things that happens when shame enters like that, it's not just the pain and I feel bad about myself and disconnected. The thing that mostly gets lost and the most tragic part is I don't trust myself enough to follow the impulses of my life. I'm not on my path. I'm just looking for what the right answer is and how to be a better person. I'm no longer navigating based on what arises in me, the experience, the truths in me, the intelligences in me, the sensitivities, the diversities in me. I'm no longer navigating the life. And when you're not navigating the life by those inner compasses and those inner barometers, the gifts that you're meant to bring and the path you're meant to live don't happen. And then you can't have that kind of presence because that's all I'm doing is how do I be present? I'm trying to be somebody. That's not presence, trying to be somebody. That's
Yeah.
me not being me. So that shame is such a big annihilator in that way. Who the F are you though? Other than a person who could make their headaches go away and could be a better this and be a better that. Who are you? That question is left out, and it's left out of a lot of the healing. People think they can heal another person without getting to know what they're like. You can tell me I have an addiction to alcohol, and then conventionally, I don't have to know anything about you and your gifts and the kind of person you deeply are. Is all I have to know about is alcohol treatment. I don't have to inquire, well, are you an alcohol treatment person whose sense of embodiment and relationship is the deep thing? I don't have to know that part. And I would think, how could you not know that? How can you heal a person and not know what kind of person they're going to be? Because they're going to become something. You want them to become them. You don't
Yeah.
want to, like, for you to become you is the point, not for you to become whatever, a perfected non-alcohol drinker. Yeah.
Yeah, and to me it's that's kind of the subtle dehumanization that comes into the healing work is I'm yeah, the goal is to make you not addicted to alcohol. And it's like reducing the human down to this thing versus yeah, who is the whole of this human here?
Yeah.
And my favorite part of what I get to do with people is seeing who they are
Yeah. Been
and for them to
incredible.
see who they are, sometimes for the first time.
Yeah. If you see, they might see for the first time. Most people haven't shown themselves because they don't know themselves. It's that shamed material is so carefully tucked away. People say shame leads you to hide things from other people. That's not the biggest difficulty. Shame leads you to hide things from yourself. So I don't even know him that way. So I can't say, well, certain things I'm ashamed of, right? I shouldn't be, whatever, doing certain things. I shouldn't be watching 3 hours of Instagram things when I'm tired in the middle of the night. I did that a couple of nights ago. So I'm ashamed of that. I don't want to show you that. But the most difficult thing is there are parts of me that I'm unaware of because shame is so effective. Even I don't know that they exist. In fact, I do know I watched those Instagram reels, and was too tired. I do know that. But what I don't know, who does that? What part of David says, I don't care how tired I am, I'm still going to watch those videos? What is he doing in the middle of the night doing that? Not what is he doing? What are you doing, you idiot?
Yeah.
Right?
What is he doing?
What is so damn good
Yeah,
about
about
doing
that
that? You
Instagram.
know?
I think
And I would say, yeah, go ahead.
our
Mhm.
Instagram reel scrollers need to have get together and have a little powwow.
Yeah. It's so some of the things that we do are so tasty to a part of us. We know why it's not good. That's obvious. This keeps me tired. This drug makes me, though, I spend too much money if I'm stoned or whatever. I'm not all the negatives we got. I shouldn't smoke cigarettes. It's bad for my lungs. We get that, right? I shouldn't put a heroin needle in my arm. I could overdose and die. That's a pretty big freaking possibility, a real possibility. That's serious. So we get that. Now, who does it anyway?
Yeah,
An idiot. No, 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 no. You don't get it. That's not a psychological theory. That's just a moral indignation.
yeah.
Who is putting the needle in their arm? How do you even find that out? You have to ask, what's it like to spend 3 hours? Well, I'm watching it. Oh, I'm too tired. I know, I know. But when you're doing it, what's it like? I just go from one thing to another to another. I don't think about anything. I don't think about my success. I don't think about my daily stuff. I'm just going from thing to thing. That interests me. That interests me. And I don't care what it is. As long as it has a little interest, I go there. Wow. You just follow your interest at a microscopic level every 2, 3 minutes and do whatever you're interested in. Nothing stops you. What would it be like to live more like that? Whoa, I can't do that during the day. I have a zillion things and commands that I have to live by. I can't kind of go, now I want to do this. Now I want to do this. But some part of me loves the freedom of that flow and would love to have more of that in my life. And obviously, that part of me says, well, we can't do that during the day. I think I'll do it in the middle of the night when no one's asking me shit, you know?
Yeah, I'm thinking about my Instagram reel lover, and I
Really love-
had a little inquiry with her last night. My husband's out of town, and I always have a hard time falling asleep when he's not here, and so just sort of,
Yeah,
and
I love it.
it's not unusual for me to like just scroll and watch Instagram reels, but I'm like, what what is it about this that feels so good to this part of
Yeah,
me? And
yeah,
it was so interesting because it was like last night, and this because I was also really tired, and I kind of got this wisdom. It was like, no, I don't have to contribute anything. There's no expectation of something that I need to bring forth, and
yeah,
I get to receive all this entertainment pleasure, right?
yeah.
I don't have to give anything. There's no, the phone is not expecting a single damn thing.
That is beautiful.
I
Yeah,
just get to receive like
yeah. No
entertainment.
expectation, just receive.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's something to live by. Not all the time we get it. You're going to be a good person in lots of different ways, but that's a way of living.
Yeah.
Here to receive without any expectation. What kind of way of living would that be?
Wow. Yeah.
How do I enter life as that? Even with a client, I have an expectation of doing a good job, but what happens if I took that away and I was just there to receive? Who knows? You might say things that the client needs even more than you would out of your expectations. Somebody else would show up is the point that is not seen. Why? Shame enters and says, no, you should be there and try to do a good job and all those different things. It's amazing. The art of you then shows up, or the spirit or soul of you then can show up, or the intimacy of you can show up.
Hmm.
Yeah, that happens in these split off spaces. It's beautiful. Thank you for doing that. Not a damn thing. I love the way you have that energy about that, right? So
That's
that's an important part. Not a damn thing is expected of me. I'm like, yeah, I like it. Mhm.
that's kind of my been my intention for this year is how much can I let myself receive, right?
Oh, oh, I see. And you stopped before and you said, I want to receive that. So now I'm connecting. I remember that moment was
Thank you.
struck me. That was very beautiful the way you did that.
Thank
You took your time to just receive, and it made an intimacy because I was like, oh, what a beautiful response
you.
to my reflection. Yeah,
Mm.
beautiful. Receiving.
Yeah,
Huge,
I'm
huge.
stretching my receiving capacity. Whew.
Yeah. I've been working on struggling with this sense of, scarcity and abundance because I'm an insecure human being and grew up that way for generations. And anyway, all that story. And And I was like, how do I get to feel myself feel more abundant? I have plenty, lots of good things are happening. I live in a beautiful house. Lots of people want to come to my classes. So I'm like, how come I'm still this? How come I still this? And then I realized, along with what you're saying, a lot of good things happen to me and for me, but I don't take them in. So I'm trying to notice my abundance, but it's not a noticing and a strength. And it wouldn't show up as I'm strong and abundant. It would show up as like open and letting it in. So I didn't know that. I thought I was trying to achieve a more abundant way of being, but that was totally the wrong energy. It was more like, oh my gosh, this person wants to do a podcast with me and I love being with her. Wow, that's amazing. This is such a beautiful thing. So it's a more of a taking in reception thing than it is a yes, I feel really good about myself. My courses are going really good. It doesn't look like I thought it was going to look that way. I thought it was going to look more confident, but it didn't look that way. Incredible. Anyway, making me think about receiving it that way.
I love that. It's yeah, it's like yeah, I'm learning that me
Mhm.
being in more receivership is me being a
Mhm.
little bit more of like a blubbering fool. Like, oh, oh, just yeah.
Years ago, before I was married to Lisa, so that's more than 20 years ago, I was dating a woman, and she said, You know what's difficult about you? And I said, what? I remember this because so it sticks with me. She said, you're too damn capable.
Ah!
And she wasn't complimenting me about how good I am at things, certain things I suck at, but she was saying, I walk around as if I'm okay and capable of other things. So there was no way in. You know what I mean? There was no access. And I was like, it went in because I was like, I can
Oh,
see what she means by that. Because I'm walking around like I'm fine, I can do things, even if I'm crippled, I'm still kind of walking around like that,
I don't want to receive anything from
I
you,
don't
but
need
I
anything from
thought,
anybody.
yeah,
I'm fine the way I am.
yes. Oh my
He's
God.
like, that's not fun to be in a relationship with someone who doesn't need anything from me, David. I'm like, oh, right. I forgot.
Preach, preach. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
even going back to relationships, how good of a receiver are you? Because the person who loves you wants to give to you and to know that you're taking it in and not shutting them out. So that's whoo,
So huge.
whoo.
Yeah. And the gender, speak what you haven't really talked about directly. Then part of what shame messes with us because of our internal psychology and our wounds, but also the social conditioning. What can you receive as a woman? How should you act? What should I receive as a man? How open should be? Men should be this way, women should be that way, whatever. All those stereotypes, racially, nationally, gender-wise, diversity, neurological diversity-wise, all these assumptions that are social assumptions that enter. This is what a good woman like. This is what a good man is like. This is what a person of color should look like. How they should express their anger or not. All these other things, social ideas that enter,
Mm.
internalized depression enters and messes with us, creating shame, creating shadow. So I won't be this way and that way. I'm not going to say much more about that, just to acknowledge the social issues that become part of these dynamics that are particularly, they're big. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And they kind of block us off from what we think we're allowed to receive or experience or yeah,
yeah.
how we should
Mhm.
relate.
What would you, we don't have a lot more time, but
Yeah.
what did you or would you want to make sure we talk
Yes.
about or say
Just
or
about to transition to my couple rapid fire questions from
oh,
my
give me your rapid fires.
okay. First one is where did it go? Okay. What's the most important thing for practitioners to know and embody when holding space for a client's shame? You can give me a rapid fire answer. Don't, yeah.
The most important thing is to look at what your client's doing that they think they need help with
Mm,
and ask them, what's it like to be that way? Not their opinion about it. What's it like I'm a bad person? What's it like I screw up? Not that. What's it like to be angry? What's it like to be have big needs? What's it like to be extra sensitive? What's it like to be you in that way? That question is missed. What's it like when you've had all that alcohol? What's it like when you're scrolling? That particular question.
love it.
Yeah,
Love it. How do you how do you care for yourself when holding space for shame so regularly?
yeah. For me personally, I mean, I have and need I usually don't call it a spiritual practice, but it is. It's a connection with something
Mm,
that cares for me, that brings me closer to the path that I'm on, that's not inside of me only. For
mm,
me, that means the earth. For me, that means music. For me, that means quiet time and connecting with the way life is moving my body.
mm.
Mhm. It makes me dance. It makes me move if I let myself. I need access to those to that thing so it anchors me in something that's not only my conscious intention. That's the important part of that's why I would call it spiritual. So I'm moved by something else, not just David's ideas and opinions. Yeah.
Love, 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 love. How do you help someone get in contact with their body and prepare them to connect with their body's expression? So, like, what are some of the inroads for, especially for someone who's not very connected to their body? What inroads do you find to be
Yeah.
effective in that?
Some people, if they're working on connecting with their body to a feeling, then a question that often works is where is that feeling residing in your body? I'm really angry. Where in your body is it the strongest or the clearest? Anywhere. If
Mm,
it's sad, where is the sadness in your body? So some people asking where in your body, not feel it in your body, where in your body, then tunes their awareness to looking for places. And they
mm,
can go, I don't really know, but I notice I'm sore in my jaw. I really know, but I notice I'm holding my belly. And so people can sometimes notice that where in the body is really, really helpful. And then don't use a psychological word, meaning don't use, and that's where my anger is, that's where my anxiety is. Stay in the language of sensation. That's where the tension is, that's where the tingling is, that's where the sharp pain is. If you can stay in sensation, you stay in the body. If a person has a hard time doing that, and that's not uncommon, we just don't have experiences. We grow up and you have a headache. No one says, is it a pounding headache? Is it a sharp headache? Is it like a pressure, like a squeezing on your head? Is it on one side or the other? Is it hot? Like, because no one asked that, we don't.
yeah.
I'm not used to asking myself those questions. I'm really angry today. Is it, do you want to make a fist? Do you want to scream? Do you want to knock down a wall? Do you want to curl up in a hard ball? Because we're not asked body questions. We're not used to. No, but children, if they're asked those, they start doing that. But if a person has little connection with their body or is unsafe in their body, many people are unsafe in their body. Why? Because being in a body means being hurt. So who the freak wants to be in my body if it means experiencing violation and I'm not ready? Then I usually ask people, let's start very simple. Are you cold, warm, or just right?
Mm,
Is there any part of you that's cold or a little colder than you want, a little warmer? And a person says, like right now, my left foot is cold. My right foot's curled up underneath me, and literally my left foot's a little cold. Then I would say, go ahead and attend to it.
mm,
And right now, I would pick up my foot and I would put my hands on my foot and warm it. That's a beautiful and simple, direct connection. And it's very meaningful. It's not a small thing. Feeling my body and responding with care to my body is the same as caring for myself. People say, you got to love yourself. How?
yeah.
Take yourself to a massage. I mean, but I may be cold. Massage is not the point. Or I may be angry. Massage is probably not going to help me bring out my anger. It's probably going to chill me out. So responding to the body's expression is a big thing. And are you hungry a little bit and for what?
Mm,
And then if a person says they're hungry for something, I'll say, are you regularly hungry for, you don't have to think literally, are you regularly hungry for something? Meaning you want it. I want to taste potato chips. I want to taste cookies. I want to taste bread. If you are, make sure you have some of that around
yeah.
and have a little bit of it every single time you have that need as soon as you can. Do not put it off.
Mm,
Have the cookie right this minute or one bite of the cookie. You can stop doing it in a few weeks if you're afraid of eating badly. But having a hunger and responding to the hunger as if it's legitimate to have and you should meet it is a deep relationship with the body self. I'm hungry and I respond by giving it to myself. But what if sugar is not good? I'm not talking about that. I want sugar. Just for a few weeks, build the connection of the body says, I want something, and you give it.
you listen. Yeah.
You listen and I do it. That will help you with body stuff over time anyway, because the disconnection with the needs of the body is one of the reasons people can't manage their eating well. I'm so split off. I'm just trying to do it so well. I never respond to what I really need. So it
Yeah.
gets very confused. You have to go back to basics. Now I want salt. Go find a pretzel, a chip, or put some salt on a piece of bread and have a bite of it now. Now,
Wow.
those are body-oriented things. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're more neutral and less like intense emotional. Yeah. They might not be ready for anger and yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So having a little foot warming
Yeah.
sesh.
I
Great.
used to have one of my clients walked around with a knapsack, and she had animal crackers in there. You like these little sweet little animal crackers. She had something salty also. I can't remember what they were. And then she had a scarf. And then whenever she got cold, she put the scarf on. And when she got warm, she would take it off. And she'd put the scarf on and off a bunch of times during the day, just as a way of saying, now I'm chilly. Now I'm gonna notice my body's cold. It really affected her deeply. Like she became so much closer to herself. It looks like just a small thing, but it's not just about warmth and cold. It's about, we were talking about it earlier. I trust the way I feel and I respond. Like that's important to me.
Yeah.
It's a very profound thing, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
what's the next one? I'm not going fast enough on
I
the
I think those were the main ones. The last one that we were all wondering is like, can we just be friends? Was like, can we just be friends with him? Like, can we just? I just want to be his friend. So,
I like friends. I don't know how much time I have to do stuff, but
no,
I have but the feeling of friendship and people can write to me on social media or like obviously this coming to my classes, that's not exactly the spirit of friendship, although I feel it that way. Let me take that in for just 1 second. Let me take that in. I'm being too fast. If some of your students all said, "We just want to be your friend. Can we be friends?" Then my eyes would get moist because I feel that, and I feel really touched.
mm,
I don't only want to know all my smart stuff. You want to be around me and connect with the kind of human being I am.
mhm,
That feels really, that's a good world. I want to be friends too. More of that.
mm.
Less of the, what do they call that? The exchange of things. The, what's the relationship?
Transactional.
Yeah, less transactional life that I get involved in. This is what I'm doing, and this gets me here, and this post gets me likes, and then people come to my classes and all that stuff. Am I subject to that? Yeah, I'm subject to that. But the background feeling that that group would say, I want to be your friend, is not transactional. It's something, uh,
Mm,
yeah, it's something more intimate and touching. I need more of that in my life, actually.
mm.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
They're,
Yeah.
they're gonna love that answer.
Who are all these people?
The last thing I want to do is plug the shit out of your book. It's an explicit podcast, so we cuss here. It's reversed in this thing, so if you're seeing it on a video, it's The Unshaming Way. It came out in, I think, December, right? Or is it late November?
Late November. Yeah.
In November, I got it. That's right. I pre-ordered it, got it in December. That's when it showed up. The Unshaming Way, a compassionate guide to dismantling shame. It is the book on shame that every person, practitioner, human needs to read. I'm loving it. My students are loving it. Your framework on shame is the
Mm,
one that I use and
mm,
am so inspired by.
mm, mm,
So for anyone who wants to know how to begin the process of unshaming yourself and how to relate to yourself in a way that isn't dominated by shame, this is a must. This is an absolute must. I'm going to put the link in the show notes, or if you're watching this on Instagram, in my bio, or wherever you're watching it, I'm putting the link somewhere. Get it. Anything that you want to say about your book before we wrap up?
Um, I can't, no, I can't think of any. Well, I got that endorsement from Gabor Mate recently, and that was a gift
Yeah.
that being appreciated. Um, I didn't want to have to write another book, but then life is not letting me go. So,
I'm so glad you wrote this book because, we have our curriculum for our embodiment training program, and, we teach your framework. And then I'm like, I just wish there was a book.
mm,
So thank you for writing the book because as soon as I saw that you're coming out with it, it's now in our curriculum. And I love all of the like step-by-step exercise. Like every single chapter has a practice, an exercise, practical application, how to embody what you're learning, which is
mm.
everything we're about here at Healing Embodied. So
Thank you so much.
thank you so much for,
Dining with you, Chelsea.
I loved it so much. Thank you for,
Me too.
and have an amazing rest of your day.